As with last year, I skipped doing a monthly build for you guys in January due to the full 2 weeks lost due to CES coverage and the resulting hectic production schedule. And just like 2017, as I return to sitting at this desk ready to get back at it, it seems like it's been a while since we did what we do best on this channel, and that's build systems. So with that in mind, here is February's monthly build. The new Dark Base 700 from Be Quiet features a spacious interior with room for up to EATX motherboards, built-in PWM fan hub, and legendary Be Quiet build quality with included Silent Wings fans. Take advantage of its full modularity by removing or adding panels or even completely inverting the motherboard tray. Thanks to its LED accent trim that you can configure through any RGB header, it'll look great no matter how you build. Check out the link in the video description to learn more. So we skipped January, and December was the viewer's choice build, so I haven't curated a parts list since November, and that was before GPU prices went absolutely haywire again. In looking at our options for a full system build this time around, I had some choices to make. I could pick a price point and try to stay under it, which seemed pretty restrictive, or I could kind of disregard pricing at this time and put together a system based on some requests I've gotten and some parts that I haven't yet featured in a build. So that's what I decided to do. I'll talk overall price here, but it's important to note that your costs will vary depending on when you're watching this video. Also, no matter what the cost ends up being, it will be a good exercise in choosing components that work well together and seeing how that translates into performance. We're going to start with the forgotten middle child of the Coffee Lake family, the i5-8600K. The 8700K has more than proven itself to be a workhorse for productivity and the best gaming CPU on the market. The i3 line provides a nice budget option with 4 cores, decent clock speeds, and performance to rival AMD's Ryzen 3 line. Even the i5 line has the 8400, which sports the same 6-core 6-thread config as the 8600K, but isn't overclockable and costs about $60 less. The 8600K runs at a much higher base and boost clock out of the box, and has a lot of headroom to push it even further, and is the evolution from the i5-7600K, which for a time was seen as the premier gaming-only bang-for-the-buck processor. Cooling our 8600K today will be a new product from Cooling Master, the G100M. The look of this thing is quite out of left field, and I'm sure there will be plenty of people who straight up don't want a flying saucer sitting in the middle of their motherboard, but I think it's really cool looking. It's meant for small form factor builds, as the total height profile is only 75 millimeters, but it can dissipate up to 130 watts of heat. It also has its own inline RGB controller, so you don't have to have an available header on your motherboard to see all the pretty lights. The biggest worry that I have about using the G100M is clearance with our Corsair Vengeance RGB memory. This is the white 16GB 3000 speed kit, and the matte finish heat spreader combined with the bright LED illumination underneath make for a really nice look inside your case. However, they are fairly tall, so we'll need to see what that means here. I'd rather keep the memory in place and swap out the cooler if we need to, if this becomes an issue, just so that our performance numbers aren't affected. But we'll work around that if it comes to it. Our gaming performance today will be heavily tied to what has turned into one of my favorite GPUs, the PNY GTX 1070 Ti. While not the fanciest cooling shroud on the market, in my 1070 Ti review video, I found that there is still a good amount of thermal headroom here for overclocking, and the small-ish form factor allows us to use it in a micro ATX build like this one. Also, the 1070 Ti, just at stock settings, is a monster card approaching GTX 1080 levels of performance. It should combo really nicely with our 8600K. All these parts will be mated to the MSI Z370M Gaming Pro AC motherboard. I first took a look at this in my Z370 motherboard roundup video and was impressed with the very solid feature set for the price and form factor. AC Wi-Fi is always a welcome sight no matter the motherboard size, and there are multiple M.2 slots, decent VRM cooling, ambient down-firing lighting, and other things to get excited about. Storage will just be a single Patriot Ignite 480GB SSD, a product which will actually be discontinued in favor of their new Viper line soon. This still gets the job done and can hold all of our games and applications for testing. Powering us up today will be FSP's 750 watt Hydro Series power supply. This is a fully modular unit that's 80 plus gold rated and will have more than enough juice even if we push significant overclocks on all of our core components. FSP has been in the game a long time and is the OEM behind a lot of other products. Their PSUs are reasonably priced and solid performers. Now we don't really need to do this, but I'm also going to toss in a set of N-Source custom cable extensions to spice up the build just a bit. These are completely color neutral and as always, super high quality from those guys. Go check them out at nsourced.net. We're going to be building in the new Cooler Master MasterBox Q300P. It's a micro ATX chassis with some really cool features and the ability to rotate the I/O around the perimeter. You can also keep these handles on or remove them entirely to suit your needs. And that makes this kind of the perfect little LAN box as it's light, sturdy, and can be easily carried. It also comes with 2 pre-installed RGB fans at the front and about an inch of cable routing room around back. Time to get our game face on and see what our individual components can do once they're all put together. So right off the bat, the first thing you may have noticed is that our glamour shots of the system have the memory in the wrong 2 slots. We're populating the 2 outer slots here when we should be skipping one in between. This was done purely to accommodate our low profile cooler and was not the way the system was set up while running tests. While doing benchmarking, the memory was correctly configured, and I slapped on a Hyper 212 Evo, which should provide about the same level of cooling as our G100M. Regardless of some clearance issues, we were able to get some decent overclocks out of our system. The 8600K was running an all-core OC of 4.5 GHz and was completely stable with reasonable temps. The 8600K has been known to hit 5 GHz on occasion, but I wouldn't want to try that in a small system with only moderate cooling. 4.5 was plenty for our needs and didn't cause any kind of bottleneck for our 1070 Ti, which also got a nice frequency bump. I was able to add 110 MHz to the core and 300 MHz to the memory clocks here, which again is not the most power this card is capable of, but is a reasonable and stable daily setting. We also were able to run our memory at 3200 MHz without an issue. All of this added up to some really great synthetic system scores, as well as really high frame rate results in our benchmarks. This system is definitely ready for a nice 100Hz 1440p G-Sync monitor, as opposed to the relatively simple 1080p tests we were hitting it with. The reason I test at 1080p is because I want to have a basis for comparison. And right now, all of my monthly build videos have tests run at the same settings, so doing apples to apples comparisons is possible. As far as the build process goes, this was on the moderately easy side of things, although there were a couple of things I ran into which I wasn't expecting. First, the power supply mounting situation is a little bit different than what you might find in a standard case. There's a separate bracket that you actually have to unscrew, remove from the inside, mount to the power supply, and then mount it back into the case. Also, the expansion bay covers are not screwed in, they're punch out, which for a $100 case, which this is, I'm a little disappointed in. I definitely would have rather seen just screwed on brackets, which can't possibly cost that much more. Plus, there are no grommets on the motherboard tray for cable pass-throughs, so you're going to need to be extra neat when you're running things. There's plenty of cable routing room behind the tray under normal circumstances, although with our extensions in place, it did make things kind of a tight squeeze, and I had to put a little pressure on the back panel in order to get it to close flush. Still though, the rest of our components fit in here, kind of like a bug in a rug, and this cooler is the perfect height for this tower. Also, although the case can accommodate a longer graphics card, this one looks just fine, if only it had a backplate. All told, as of the filming of this video, this system will cost you $1,846. Inflated memory and GPU pricing have really hit us hard here, and under what I would say is normal circumstances, this same config should probably run you about $1,350. At that price, our performance results seem well worth it, and if we ever see things normalize again, I can definitely recommend this build just as is. If you're interested in any of these parts, I'll leave links down below. So what do you guys think of February's monthly build? Let me know in the comments. Also, don't forget to pick yourselves up some BPS Customs merchandise at the link in the description. As always guys, thanks for watching, hope you liked the video, and I'll see you next time.